Let's talk about the church being multi-ethnic. Obviously, I'm a 1.5, you're a 2.0 Hispanic. That's what it's been called. So, what do you see the church as far as being multi-ethnic? What are your thoughts?
I think that Jesus Christ encountered this issue with the Jewish people when he came. So-called racism, which I don't even like the phrase or the word, because we're all humans. Obviously there's different cultures, languages, ethnicities. I like that you use the word multi-ethnic. Dominant cultures dominate things, and after a while it seems like that culture wanes and then another culture dominates. If you look at human history, that's the way it's been. I mean, the Bible was written in Koine Greek. Greek was a dominant language and culture for a while. Then the Romans came along, then the fall of the Roman Empire, then the European states, and so the church has always had the need to adapt to other ethnicities. The first challenge of the church in the book of Acts was, should we impose on the non-Jewish people what we Jewish people value? In that case it was dietary law and Mosaic restrictions, and they had a church council, Acts chapter 15. They decided not to impose on the non-Jewish people things that Jewish people valued because they understood that they couldn't do that. And I heard one man say that had the church done that, it would have never broken out of an initial Judaistic or Judaism-centered kind of a faith. It would have never had the adaptability to go to Greeks, to Egyptians, to Romans, to whoever else it reached. So multi-ethnicity, the church should always be ready to adapt to new cultural realities, whether it's Hispanics becoming English-speaking or vice versa. What if it goes the other way? We don't know what's going to happen. The real multi-ethnicity might become, what are we going to do with the Chinese? They're the dominant group in the world right now. How can we include them into the body of Christ? So multi-ethnicity is I used to be frustrated along with my friend here, Edgar, about the fact that the American quote-unquote church, Protestant Bible-believing church, their concept of Hispanic ministries was start a Spanish-speaking church over there, and once in a while we'll say hello to each other, and we'll go and visit Taco Bell every once in a while. I have to joke about that. Instead of understanding that what God has been doing, and it's obvious what's been going on in the United States anyway, is this tremendous influx of very many different kinds of culture groups, and we're living next to each other, and in that mix we've got to learn how to do what Jesus did with himself and the disciples. He invited a Greek named Philip, a Jewish man named Philip in the original disciple group. That means that he was named after a Greek, but he was Jewish. So he talked to Samaritan woman, he's talked to the Roman centurion. He was willing to reach out and talk to anyone, and so should we be. Not just talk to them, however, but also to include them in fellowship. And that means that if I, as whatever my ethnicity is, go to a church, and I see this church representing only one ethnic group, and all around me is a reflection of many different ethnic groups, then that church isn't doing what it needs to do. They need to put people in leadership, on staff, in volunteer positions, and even behind the pulpit who represent and reflect what the culture really is. I remember Calvary Church I was a new Christian there, and I was one of the only brown guys at this white church, and I remember one of the leaders, can't remember who it was now, I think he used to minister with Campus Crusade Athletes in Action. He takes me to the senior pastor, who was a Dallas Seminary grad, and obviously a product of the 50s and 60s. And the senior pastor was a nice guy and loving and kind, but I don't think he understood that English-speaking Hispanic being brought into his office was significant in any way. I don't think he understood that. He's now gone, okay? But since he died, and in Southern California, in that area of that particular church, the Hispanic population boomed and overwhelmed everything and turned everything upside down politically and financially. And we need to try to be more aware of the trends of things that are coming. Like Jesus said, read the signs of the times. What's going on, and what does this mean, and what should we do as the church to prepare for it? Well, obviously, what they did with me is they said, you got to go help this guy start a Spanish-speaking church, even though I was English-speaking. I even told him I don't speak Spanish. I'm English-speaking. I watched Gilligan's Island, the Brady Bunch. I thought I was one of them. I wasn't. But I think dominant cultures need to understand that they'll never have dominance forever. No culture does. They'll have to see what's coming and prepare for it. So that's the legacy we can leave, is say, look, prepare for what's the future of the church and what the future bodes for the church, what's going to happen. It may not always be your favorite way of doing things or your favorite kind of music or the particular style of worship and church that you like. It's going to change, like it or not, and it has to change, because to reach new generations, the gospel always has to adapt and to, if you will, reiterate itself in a new culture group, in a new language group, in a new group. I mean, really, if you think of any culture, quote unquote, I'm Hispanic, but what does that mean? In my background, I have German, I have Spanish from Spain, I have Indian from here locally, I have probably Moorish from the Spanish struggle with the Moorish people. So in a way, I myself am a new person. I mean, probably wouldn't have conceived of me as a person. So what's God going to make in another 100 or 1,000 years? Who knows?